Let's see. Okay. How is this going? Is it working all right? Okay, should be okay. There. Let me see. I need to go to my mail.
I'm here.
I'll be right with you.
Okay, I'm on my phone.
I had a few people that had sent me, just got emails that they did not get the link, and I'm working on sending it to them.
Gotcha.
What is this?
I have no clue.
Okay, I think that's all I've got, so I'm gonna go back there and get it sent.
Hey, Leroy, can you hear me?
Yep, I can, Diana. I'll be right back into Zoom, just a second.
So Leroy, I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Can anybody else hear me? Auntie Jean?
I can hear you on my
Can you hear me?
phone.
Can you hear me?
And on my computer.
Can you hear Leroy?
Now
Yes.
I can hear you. Now
I
I
can
can
hear
hear
All right.
you.
There, because it just made me go back and check my microphone and stuff, and I thought it was working okay, so Who knows? It's a
Yeah.
mystery.
So I only have one computer on right now. And I admit this computer is starting to get a little age on it and it's starting to scare me. I have to have it plugged in because there's not enough. The battery's going bad, so the battery doesn't last long, like 20 minutes only if it's not plugged in, but been working fine if it's plugged in, but anyway.
I'll just do it on here.
Yeah, I always have mine plugged in because otherwise it dies about halfway through. And it's not an old computer either, but
You know,
Well, and
Yeah.
and the screen just isn't as bright if it's off battery versus plug-in. At least mine isn't, so.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt Schmitz, I haven't seen you in a long time. You're muted.
What would you do?
just go up and
Diana,
Yay,
I
Matt.
saw that little presentation you did about protecting your stuff from wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
And I put tree wrap around my cherry tree, the plastic cylindrical tube. I get
Yeah.
to it last spring. Oh, there's a whole something nibbled a hole, nice big hole in the bottom of it. And
Yeah.
this plastic tree wrap. None of the bark was damaged, so I put the tree wrap on, then put hardware cloth around it and staked that in.
Yeah, good, good.
So
Yeah, those little buggers can get through a lot, and I don't know. I mean, it's like, I can't understand why rabbits and rodents like to chew on plastic, but they do.
it was chewing on plastic, and since it was near the base, underneath all the snow, you're not gonna see it until the spring anyway.
Right.
So
Yes, we have a couple of foxes that are living around our house, and we've got some motion censored cameras around. And almost every night we see them. And now, of course, with these light snowfalls, you see the tracks, and they are just like all over the place, as are bunny tracks. And so I'm assuming that they're trying to get at some of these bunnies, but these bunnies have apparently amazingly successful ways to survive. But I'm hoping, because fox and coyotes, their favorite food are rodents, and they can dig down in the snow to get them. So I'm hoping that because we have them around, that they're doing their job.
it should help.
Yep. They're big, beautiful, fluffy foxes, so they look like they're eating well.
So yeah, it should help.
get her figured out, Gene.
Well, I'm on my phone. I'm fine. I'm trying to get on my computer.
Oh, okay.
I'm with you.
All right. I can see you there doing stuff, though.
I have my tech expert here.
Yep, I saw that too.
And we saw both of your fingers really well.
Yes, I thought you were gonna poke me for a minute there.
Poke you in the eye. Yeah.
Yeah. I
We have
had
to put our eye right really close, and then
Yeah.
you can poke us.
I had at least a half a dozen people that did not get the invitations, and I forwarded it to them. I just wish I could figure out why that's happening, because they're on the mailing list and it's supposedly they've gone out, so.
I wonder if it's on their end that their server is seeing that something's coming to a big group of people, so it blocks it.
You know, I don't know, but here's what's different this time. Usually it's an email, and embedded in that email is the invite to the Zoom. And this time I had to go through all kinds of downloads and a lot of complication.
Huh, because the one I got was just an email from Leroy.
Yeah, like the normal one. Yeah, no, this is very confusing, and that's why my tech guy is here with me.
Everybody needs a tech guy,
Oh.
so yeah.
I think I need
need.
I need a 6-year-old.
That would be handy, yes.
We all need tech guys.
Oh, well, I'll do the phone. I'm fine.
Alright, yeah, and I just got back again from Mary Samuelson and she didn't get it again, and I'd sent it to her. This will be the third time right here, so we'll see what happens now.
That's really odd.
Yeah, it's a different format this time. However you did it. It came out, put it on your calendar. So I put it in my calendar on my phone. And then what happened is I get this really weird thing that gives me download, but it gives me way too many options.
That's weird.
Yeah,
Mm.
I've never had that before.
So Leroy, I just forwarded your email that I got, that I used to log into this,
Yep.
to Mary Samuelson.
Okay, and I just forwarded it to her again. I'll tell you how I got the mailing list. And I have it broken down into 5 sections.
Oh, okay.
So
And-
smaller groups.
Yes, because I tried when I first started it, I just had the whole damn mailing list and it would just get completely screwed up. It
Oh,
wouldn't do
sure.
it. So I broke it down into about 5 groups, roughly equal. And I'm on the first one and I mail that to the first one and then I forward that one that I get to each of the other groups separately. And it has been working in the past, but we have a lot of issues with this one for some reason.
Weird.
I know.
Well, I know Leroy, I always just get a long mailing list. And I figured out that at the bottom of that list are the Zoom meeting numbers. And I gave them to Mary yesterday. So I don't think they would have changed. I used
No.
to get on tonight.
No, they haven't changed. They're and
Is
Hey.
she not, so Leroy, is she not getting your message at all, or is she having trouble with the link?
said she's not getting it. That's the message I got from her.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, and we're still having trouble with the link.
So so like if you click on the link, it just won't work. Is that what's happening, Jean?
No, it gives me too many options. And then it says one attachment, and then it says do that. And then you get all these options and nothing works.
That's
But
really weird. If you just
phone,
click
the
that
weird
link and
on my phone, it worked.
yeah,
Oh.
that's weird.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
you
I'm
can
fine.
try just highlight that link and then just paste it into, your Chrome or whatever browser and just see if that works. Because I had to do that. The link itself didn't click through, so I just highlighted it, copied it, pasted it into my Chrome browser, and voila. Must be gremlins ahead of the next cold front and winter storm, huh?
Maybe, I don't know what the heck the deal is.
Put it in here and make.
I don't know what the meeting ID number is.
Did you just check your email, Jean? I just sent it out to you again just a few minutes ago.
I don't want to lose you guys.
Okay.
I have the agenda up and I'm fine. You're just in miniature. You look lovely.
We have the meeting ID.
So we'll try to be bigger.
You're larger than life anyway. It says join a meeting, but then it says meeting ID or personal link name. Okay, wait, what's our options here?
Yeah,
Doesn't do anything, huh?
no.
Oh my, no. No, I have Diana's on there. From the other night. Nope. Oh, well. I'm fine. Just get on with it.
Well, if you get an ID, you can punch it.
Oh,
Hey, I'll read you the ID, okay, Jean? So the
Yeah.
meeting ID on the message I got from Leroy is 898
8, 9.
8.
Wait, 898. Got it.
Okay, then 8188.
Yep.
And then 9118.
9.
So the,
8.
Huh?
9118.
okay, so the whole number,
898 8188 9118.
yep,
Done.
that's the meeting ID,
And the passcode?
829917.
Let's do it. Woohoo! Joy.
Okay, we got another one in now.
Got it.
Mary got on here. I see that.
Recording in progress.
Yay. Okay.
So Jean, you have to turn your sound off on your
I know.
phone or, and then you stop getting
You
that
know what?
echo.
So we will get the feedback.
Turn yours on.
All right, so we have a couple more. I'm afraid a lot of people did not get it because we only got 19 people on here right now, but let's go to the chat for a second and then we'll get going. Dana is on there. so-
Leroy, you know,
Yeah.
there's a tomato seminar.
That's
tonight,
right. That's
too.
going on tonight too, and I signed
So
up for it.
that's
I
maybe
figured
where
I'd get,
some of them are.
that might be. I figured I'd get in on the recording of it because I did register for it. But that might be where some people are tonight too.
Yeah,
All right, well, let's get started because that way we can get done. So I've got the agenda up there. Welcome to you all. Let me see. I had the list. How about anyone who is on the board or an officer who is present? Just go speak up quickly and introduce yourself. I'm Leroy Clark. I'm the president.
Hey, Gloria.
Hello. Hi, Gloria. My name is Dana McKenna. I'm the St. Croix County rep, newly elected. Hello.
Hi, Dana.
Hey, Dana.
Thank you.
Hi. Pleased to report I sent in our, I reached out to the county fair people and got information about the upcoming St. Croix County Fair. I'll put it on new agenda in the
All
future.
right. Cool. Gloria, you want to say hi?
Yeah,
Oop, you just muted yourself again.
I have a new computer finally. It's taken me
Ah.
a little while.
Okay.
So hi, everybody. I'm here with several grandchildren
There
tonight.
was some helpers.
I always have helpers.
Well, that's good. Is anyone else?
Can I say
Present.
something else, Leroy?
Yes, you may.
Leroy?
Go ahead,
I
Gloria.
just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all the people that sent me cards and texts and emails. You know, I lost my husband January 3rd. I just want to thank everybody for their kind words.
Oh, their thoughts are with you, Gloria. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Got a great group.
Okay,
Everybody go. Where'd everybody go?
scrolling through, that is the
Uh-oh.
total of the board members, officers that we've got here tonight, as far as I can see. Next on the agenda was membership. Would you like to do anything for a membership report, Deb?
Hi,
Hi, Deb.
I just want to let you know that we're slowly getting everybody paid up, and we have 135 as of tonight. I got another check in the mail today. I'm waiting for one more check, and then I'll be able to pay state dues. Now, they're not due until March 1st, but this year I want to be on time. Last year I had it confused, and I thought it was the 15th of March, but I guess that's when they used to take the ice shacks off the lake, was March 15th, not when you had to pay your dues.
Yeah.
We had 20 people discontinue. I know some
Discontinue.
people are concerned about how many are leaving, and 20. That's not unusual. That is typical. And I have invited the students of the last class that Diana had in the fall. I have not heard from anyone. I just wanted to ask, is anyone attending tonight that was invited with an email from me? I am Deb Peterstone. I would like you to introduce yourself. I don't have a full screen, so I don't know who is attending tonight.
How about
Please
I,
introduce yourself and let us know where you're from. Well, it looks like everyone I see, I know everybody here.
all right.
Where there was a little misconfusion, I didn't get the list to Kevin. So he usually, in the last year, he called everyone. So we'll make sure that we get everybody called before the next meeting and see who wants to come on board. Like Diana said to me, we don't know how many will be joining and going through the onboarding course and through the state. And it's a hefty price. And sometimes people just take her course for their own information. So we just want to wait and see, but we will make a contact call and make sure that we get contact with them. And that's all I have.
Well,
Welcome
thank you.
everybody for 2023.
Thank you, Deb. Next there are lots of continuing education opportunities coming up. Check your emails, check our Facebook page. Oh, I've got several from reminders or notices from Deb about upcoming things. And the state is doing some, the extension has sent out some notices on some too. So there's quite a few coming up here while we're sort of snowbound, so might as well take advantage of some of them. There's one going on tonight, as we were talking about, which I am hoping to catch on the recorded version here in the next few days. I want to remind everyone that this is our 25th anniversary. We're going to have a party at our meeting in June. Okay, guys, look, my dogs just came in and they're all snowy and cold. Next meeting will be February 23rd. That will be Zoom only. Speaker will be Joel Karsten, author and originator of the straw bale gardening method. So looking forward to that. Our March meeting, I am not going to be here. I'm going to work out with someone, see how we're going to handle that, because I'm going to be in a completely different time zone and area and hemisphere and stuff. So we'll see what we can do. That will be a Zoom meeting also. I'm going to Australia.
Oh my.
Yeah, we're fired up, excited.
Wow, cool.
Where in Australia?
Uh, I can't remember now, but there's 2 different towns and it's a tour set up by professional dairy producers of Wisconsin. So it'll be really, we'll visit a number of farms and processing places and stuff along with, get a chance to snorkel on the barrier reef and stuff like that. So it's gonna be right down our alley, so.
And see kangaroos.
Yes,
Yeah, that is really cool. And you just see the koala bears. I was
Yep.
there.
yeah,
And-
we've always wanted to go and this came up and so we bit the bullet and we'll be gone 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds
Jealous.
long time. Love it.
Yes.
Jealous.
The community grants applications are now being accepted. Deadline is March 6th. So let everyone know about that, please. And if you're interested, go ahead and apply. Next thing I have on here is we need a new clothing coordinator. Elizabeth Whitchurch, who is our coordinator currently, needs to resign as of immediately, as she and her husband have to move. I believe it's to Arkansas, if I remember the email. He's got a job in Little Rock, and I think that's in Arkansas, ain't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're still going to keep track of our Zooms and try to get to some of them, but hopefully they'll be joining down there. But she needed to get done as our clothing coordinator, so we are looking for a replacement. Does anyone here have any other business things that they would like to bring up before we move along to Diana? Seeing none, I will stop this share. And Diana, you are already made a co-host, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, just give me a
Wait,
second.
before Diana gets on,
Okay.
Jean has a proposition or whatever.
Ooh.
Our good friend Andrew Sankey from England is coming to visit us in October, either September or October. I don't know the exact dates. And yes, we would like him to come and speak to us, but I'm thinking, do we want to try to do something that we would invite the garden clubs, the area, do some advertising? It would be a big deal. Do we want to do it as master gardeners and try to make some money, or shall we give this to the Hudson Home and Garden Club and they can coordinate it with the FIPS and we would go as attendees? I think it's something to think about. He's going to be staying with us at our house in Hudson. And I'm going to be taking him around the area it's a vacation for him, a working vacation. He has published a new book. It's fabulous. It's hardcover. I can send out that information to people. I don't know the price of that and I don't know the dates. It's all kind of nebulous yet. But I think it's something we should think about. Do we want to try to be the promoters of this, or shall we give it to someone who does more of this than we do? Something to think about. We don't have to
Well,
make a decision
Well,
tonight.
why don't I make sure I invite you to our board meeting coming up, Jean?
Okay,
And
and
hopefully,
I'll try to see. Okay,
hopefully Bridget will be there too. 'Cause she's traveling right now, but Bridget Kelly lines up our speakers and stuff for the meeting, so she should be probably involved in the discussion too.
okay. Yeah, and I don't know. I've been thinking about this and whether it's something we want to do or give it away.
All
And
right,
he might even come and speak to us as master gardeners free of charge. We twist his arm. But he's good enough so that he's a moneymaker.
oh yeah, we've heard him, I've heard him, I'm sure most
Yeah.
of us have.
And his
He's
new book
very good.
is being very well accepted in England. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a coffee table, lovely book. But it would take, work on our part to find a place and advertise and
I don't know if we want to do
One, so-
that.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe just come to my house and he talks to us. And we give the opportunity to someone else. I don't know.
All right, well, it's definitely something we'll talk
Okay.
about. How's that at our board? I think a board meeting is going to be the first Monday of February, if I think.
Okay, invite
But I
me
will-
in
Yep, I
and
will.
I'll try to get his dates, what he's thinking of and the price of his book.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Gene. There you go, Diana. She's all yours.
All right, well, I know everybody's off learning about all the tomato stuff with the WMGA presentation and stuff tonight, but I really, when Bridget asked me to be the guest, it was like, oh, just talk about a hodgepodge of things or whatever. So I have a little hodgepodge of things. The first thing I wanted to mention is to follow up on what Deb had said about, we all know there've been a lot of changes with the Master Gardener program. And unfortunately, I don't know any more than you guys do. It's been a frustrating couple of years. My colleagues, my counterparts across the state, we're kind of getting in trouble because we keep asking and we keep making people defensive, let's put it that way. Anyway, I don't know what their big picture is. I don't think they have actually thought through their whole big picture. Please don't, I know this is being recorded. Please don't anybody forward this to my bosses. But what I do want to mention is that next week, I do have a meeting set up with the Master Gardener office, the horticulture program director, my local area director, who's my direct supervisor. And it's supposedly to discuss how these changes affect us as county employees and county coordinators or past coordinators of the Master Gardener program. I will say that I'm not overly optimistic that I will get answers that I've been clamoring for because I don't think they have them. But we'll see how it goes. One thing that has come out is, as Deb mentioned, the process now is that if you want to become a Master Gardener, you take a quote qualifying course. And there are only 2 qualifying courses. The first is their online course. It's in the Canvas platform called Foundations in Gardening. Anyone can take that. Anyone in the general public, or if you want to become a Master Gardener, it's just open to anyone because the university basically wants to make money. And the course is $299. And then I think you can sign up for an optional extra like live lab, also done via Zoom, but that's like another $40. If you want a print, with that you get access to the manual that you guys all got when you went through training and stuff, but you get access to it electronically. If you want to buy a paper version of it, that's another $35. Then if you actually, okay, so that's one option. The other option, and this is just in a couple of areas, is if an extension person is teaching a live version of it. And that's what I did again in the fall. So I've continued on that fall Master Gardener training, but it's not just Master Gardener training anymore. It's, I called mine Fundamentals of Gardening. I'm not allowed to call it Master Gardener training. but it's the same course, okay? And if people take that, then they are qualified to go on to become a master gardener. And that process means that they then sign up for, as Deb mentioned, the onboarding class. Now, you guys all had to do onboarding light this last year or something like that, okay? The actual onboarding class is pretty much what you guys had, but it also has the final exam. So they do that online. They gotta pass that final exam. And that onboarding class is $100. So we out here in the real world have extremely strong concerns about the cost to become a master gardener volunteer now. It's not accessible to a lot of people. And that's why, like my class, I didn't charge anything for my fundamentals of gardening class. So anybody in our area who wants to become a master gardener, it's only going to cost them that $100 for onboarding, which is still higher than I used to charge, but it's a lot less than most of the people in the state will have. We are still arguing this issue. And all I'm going to say is that nobody's listening. We're extremely frustrated. But on the other hand, the state has finally now hired a new person. His name is Robert Strohmeyer, I think. He started about 2 weeks ago, and his title is Master Gardener Coordinator. So he is now going to be like the coordinator of the state program. Kimberly, who has been around a while, that many of you have had to interact with because she was the one responding to questions about the ORS, has technically had that title. But again, we have confusion. I suspect Kimberly will not be in that role after a little while here. And that a lot of stuff is going to be done by Robert. He seems like a nice guy. He seems energetic. And my hope is that for the last like 2 years, probably, like nothing has happened. Nothing has moved forward in the program. And I'm hoping that now that he's in place, something will. So specifically, there need to be state award systems and, you know, recognitions and on and on and on. And so we're hoping that that will happen. Also, not necessarily connected to Robert's hire, we did get some messaging out that they are finally going to give us county people some access to some of the data from ORS. So up until now, they've been saying, I haven't had access. I can't even get into your online reporting system, let alone check anything for you guys. It's been such a ridiculous frustration because, of course, some of these things would be easy questions, and instead they all got bottlenecked with Kimberly in the Master Gardener office. And I am not able to tell who's still in the system, how many hours anybody has put in, where they've put in those hours, nothing. Okay, I can't see anything. And they've been holding off on that under the guise of privacy issues. And I think that's misinterpreted, because as an extension employee whose position description says coordinate a local Master Gardener program, I think I'm part of the Master Gardener program, just like the people sitting in Madison, and should have access to it. But anyway, they have said that things will be changing here, like in the next month or two, where we are going to be able to have some access, because that also comes down to like last year, I couldn't even tell you who actually went through onboarding from my counties. So as far as, you know, the sending out invitations or welcomes or inviting people to come join your group and that kind of a thing, we have no way of telling who actually went through onboarding. And it's a ridiculous way to run a program. Anyhow, I'm hoping that within the next couple months, there will be something I can tell you about that, and I will be able to have like some kind of access to at least find some basic info and that. So so the only reason I'm telling you guys this is I know everybody's been frustrated. I know we've lost some really good members because of all of this. It makes me sick to my stomach. But I have not been able to do anything about it, try as I may. But I'm hoping that the reason I'm telling you this is to have you hang in there. And I'm hoping that within the next few months, we'll start to see at least some movement in a positive direction because of the things that I just mentioned. So anyway, that's where that's at. You guys are always still welcome to, you know, send me questions, ask me questions and stuff. Unfortunately, my hands have been tied as far as how much I can find out or help with. But I'm hoping that changes a little bit. And then there was something else I was going to tell you guys. What was it? Maybe maybe that was it. So anyway, Bridget's, you know, asked me to talk about a few things that have come up. And so when I started putting this together, like yesterday, I thought, oh, it was gray and snowy and foggy and blah again outside. And it's funny because of course all we do is complain about weather, right? So my husband and my office mates and stuff, we've all been complaining about how gray it's been, how cloudy, how long it is since we've had sun or anything, right? Well, this morning, did you guys see the sun? And you know what we did? We complained about how bright it was reflecting off the snow. And I thought, oh my God, aren't we just terrible? All we do is complain about the weather. But it was nice to see some sunshine, especially considering we'll be getting snow and strong winds again tomorrow. So, but I think we all appreciate doing this meeting via Zoom rather than driving in this kind of weather when who knows what the roads are going to be. But because it was so gray and everything, I picked this slide format with these little cherry blossoms on here because it just hit me as spring and bright and warm. And so that's why I have this title here. Okay, so just soak it in for a minute. I did that design class 2 nights ago or what, and who was it? No, oh, my memory's going. Was in Florida, tuning in from Florida, and it's like 76 degrees there yesterday. So anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the winter's legacy here, because it has been an interesting and unique winter. Normally when we get snow, I mean, we get big snowstorms and stuff, but usually there's a breeze or wind with it. And this year we've just had so much stuff cling to and weight down our trees and shrubs and stuff like that. And it's been beautiful, right? But there is some damage, and I've been getting a bunch of calls about, oh, what should I do about this and everything. So I just wanted to mention quick as reminders that in most cases, okay, so this picture here is in my front yard. This is my bristlecone pine. And I don't know if I ever told you about my bristlecone pine, but they're kind of really long-lived pines, and they're out like in Colorado and on the cliffs of California thing. And some of these trees, they're like the oldest living trees, and they're like a couple thousand years old. And anyway, there's a song that it's by Michael Johnson, who isn't around anymore. He was a folk singer kind of a thing, and he had a song called The Bristlecone Pine. And it always kind of hit me because the basics of the song was that these trees live for so long. And so he was saying that when he dies, he wanted to be buried at the feet of a bristlecone pine, and that maybe the tree would partake of the essence of him. And it was just kind of a a neat song and stuff. And so I bought this bristlecone pine probably 8 or 9 years ago now from Earthworks in River Falls. I was shopping and wow, they had a bristlecone pine and it was about 2 feet tall. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'd never seen one. And all of the stuff that you read on bristlecone pines they're super, super slow growing. So what I had seen at the time was that it'll grow 1 to 2 inches a year. So I put it along my front sidewalk in my entry garden, thinking it was just going to be this like cute little special tree. Well, it grows more like 8 to 9 inches a year. And so it's getting bigger than I wanted it for that spot. But this is a picture of it after that first heavy snow. And you can see that it's really, really hanging down. And, you know, the instinct is to go out there and knock that stuff off, but really these branches are frozen. If you take a shovel and you start bumping on those branches to knock some of the snow off, you're likely going to do more harm than good and break off some of those branches and stuff. So if things are hanging down there and they've kind of hit the ground and now they can't go any lower, it's usually best to just leave them like that, whether it's snow or ice. Now, the exceptions are if you're in the middle of an ice storm, for example. So, you know, here's a picture with the ice coating on the trees and, you know, they're still pointing up pretty horizontally. This isn't going to hurt them at all unless you go whacking on it. But if you're in the middle of an ice storm and these, you know, branches or something are getting lower and lower and you're going, oh my gosh, it looks like it's going to break. You could go out there and tap off a little of it just as soft and easy as you can, like with a soft broom. Do not worry about getting all of it off. If you just take off a little bit of that weight to keep it from going down further and snapping, that's all your goal is. So don't overdo it. But we usually get ice storms in spring. And this year, you know, we've just had mostly that heavy, wet snow. But, you know, this winter is proving to be really interesting across the country. And of course, the climate change has everything goofed up. And so we may very well get more heavy, wet snowstorms and ice storms here yet this winter. So just be careful that you don't do any more damage. Unfortunately, damage has already been done. So this picture here, I want to point out what I have here is my Tinkerbell lilac. Okay. It is one of those cute little lilacs. It's kind of pink, purpley flowers, and it's a rebloomer. So I get blooms in July and then again in like late August. And it's really mostly just kind of a big mounded shape. It's probably 6 feet tall kind of a thing and maybe 6 feet in diameter, but you can see that all this snow got on it and has really, really flattened it. Now, there's nothing I can go out there and do about it now. The damage has been done, but I'm certain, because if you look at this from another angle, these branches are like laying flat on the ground. So I am certain that they've cracked and broken off at the end, you know, down at the base. So the damage is done, right? Fortunately, as you all know, most lilacs will shoot up from the base again, but it's going to be a challenge to help these things recover. But again, if I go in there and I start knocking that snow off to get down in there to see what's in there and try to do anything about it now, that would just be foolish and probably do more damage. Now, the other thing I want you to really notice is all of this stuff right here, which you can see are bunny tracks. Okay, so these flattened shrubs are wonderful little shelters for these critters. And so they're down in there and I'm sure they're munching away, right? But again, there's not a heck of a lot I can do about that. We have a couple of foxes that are circling the house almost every night. We've got motion sensor cameras out and stuff, so we see them and we see all their tracks in the snow as well. So they're trying to get at these critters, but it's pretty hard to get down into the middle of that shrub. And there are several of those in my yard right now. So anyway, no need to hurry up and get out there because it's too late to do much about it, nothing you can do. But when spring comes and that snow melts around, you're going to have to go in there and really look at what's damaged, what's just stretched down, and do some pruning and cleanup. Okay. Ideally, you do it while things are still dormant, but we have to wait and see when that snow melts and we can get down at the base of it. So you're going to have to get in there and look at things really close. If something is snapped, obviously snapped off, you'll want to prune it back to the next part of the branch or trunk that it connects to. So you don't want a stub sticking out there because that stub won't sprout back and stuff. So the other thing that you have to look for is stuff that's like in this picture here. So if this tree is this branch is bent down far enough, it could just get this like hairline, well, it's not really hairline, but this crack through there like that. And then you got some decisions to make, because that branch likely will not die past that crack, because remember, the vascular system, the cambium, the xylem, and phloem is in a circle around, around that trunk. Okay. So under the bark. And so we've really only got a few spots around that circumference that have cracked. So there's still a really, there's still 98% of that connection from the roots to the top of the tree or the end of that branch. So that branch will probably not die, but you're going to have to make some decisions on, do I want to leave that there and see if it kind of restabilizes and stuff? Or should I take that branch out now and not risk that it's going to be a hazard in the future? And it's hard to say what the right answer is. In some cases, maybe you leave it for a year or two, just because there's not a whole lot less left of the tree or shrub. And so you leave that there while stuff sprouts back up from further closer to the trunk or the base of the shrub. And then eventually these cracked branches come out of there. Okay. The other thing that may very well happen is you'll have branches or trees that were bent over in the snow and ice that don't look cracked, and they blossom out in spring and they leaf out, and you're thinking everything is fine. And then suddenly in mid-June, the leaves all wilt and turn brown and it crashes. And that can happen because when these branches bend and it strains stuff, even if the outside bark doesn't break, it might be breaking that vascular system inside underneath the bark. And you just can't see that. Okay. So we just have to be aware of that, in your own yards, as well as, as master gardeners, when people come to you and say, hey, this is what happened, that's a possibility that it was damaged internally when it got bent over on the snow and ice. Now, the good news is, at least so far, we have not been down to, those 30 below kinds of things. And even this week, it's supposed to get cold, but the coldest nighttime temperature that I've seen in the forecast is like 15 below, and that's nothing for us, right? Heck, that's what, zone 6. I mean, we can handle that. So we're not really getting any cold damage to anything just yet. Down in southern part of the state, oh my gosh, they haven't even had snow. Well, I think they maybe got some this last week, but they've had like green grass up until at least 2 weeks ago. And they have spring bulbs sprouting, and that's not a good thing in January. So we're actually really fortunate. The other interesting thing, though, is we got all this snow early and we haven't had that much cold. So we hardly have any frost in the ground. And we found that, like, with snow removal and, near our manure pile and stuff, you can scrape down into the ground really easily because it's not frozen. And unless the snow all melts and then we get a bunch of cold, we aren't going to get any more frost down in the ground. So that's going to be an interesting kind of thing, which might end up with maybe some things breaking dormancy earlier in the spring, but we will have to wait and see. So, so anyway, we need to be aware of that. And then the other thing, and this is what I kind of alluded to, is the wildlife. Okay, they are hungry and they have a whole lot of snow to hide under. So in spring, we might be seeing a lot of this because we got this snow so early that a lot of their other food sources kind of disappeared. And they weren't able to access, you know, like nuts and seeds and things that were on the ground. So this picture on the left is rabbit damage. This is from a couple years ago. I think this was Teresa Davis's picture that she sent me, that after spring came, this was all chewed off. And this little tree is dead because the vascular system's been removed the whole way around. So there's nothing you can do about that. If it's a tree or shrub that's on its own rootstock, sometimes it'll shoot up from the rootstock. But if it's something that was grafted, anything that shoots from the rootstock, you're not going to want. Okay, so this picture on the right, I took this picture a couple days ago just for you guys to show you what happened in my yard as well as other places. So this is a crabapple tree. And when we got the really, really heavy snow, it bent this branch way down here. Okay, now the heavy snow that weighted it down has since fallen off, but you can see that the branch is stuck down in the snow. And what you can't see super well, I don't know if I can zoom this in. Okay, is all of these tracks, these bunny tracks again. Okay, and you can see on the bark here that it's all girdled off. So they've chewed all the bark off of this branch as much as they can reach. And that is, okay, so I did a zoom and now I don't know how to get out of it, but oh, there we go. That is something that we're going to have to deal with too. So you might end up with rabbit damage higher up on your plants than you normally are used to having to deal with. You may have wrapped the trunks really well with hardware cloth or some other kind of barrier to keep them from accessing it. But because of this snow weighting everything down low, you might have damage on branches. And once the snow melts and these branches spring back up, they might be 4 feet off the ground and you'll be wondering how the rabbits ever got up that high. But that might be part of it. And of course, this snow is deep, so they can walk on top of that. Okay, so that's things to be aware of as far as the snow and ice that we've had. Again, it's been a really unusual year as far as that's concerned. And so we got to expect that we're going to have some residual damage just from cracking and breaking and that. The other thing that Bridget had asked me to mention quick was winter sowing, because there's a lot of interest in this, but a lot of people have still been asking questions about what that is and how you do it. And so there's gazillions of places on the internet that you can see. There are winter sowing Facebook groups and whatever. So, but the questions that have been coming to me are like, well, why would you do that? And how does that work? So I just want to go through it quick, because it's really a simple thing, but it's not something that you got to go out and do if you don't want to. So the whys of winter sowing, it's basically seed starting. So starting your seeds for your garden this year, whether it's vegetables or flowers. And the reason you would do it is if you start seeds inside and you have a good seed starting setup, meaning little supplemental light and enough space for what it is you want to grow, then you don't need to do winter sowing. But winter sowing is a different version of that. So a lot of people who don't have enough space inside or don't have a good light setup would do winter sowing for some things, because you don't because you put them outside, okay, in the winter. So these are some pictures of them, and yes, you could do this and put it outside right now. So what you do is you take a bottle. So I have this catdemic that's gone on in our house where we got too many cats suddenly because, well, we couldn't let the fox eat them, right? So anyway, we're going through a lot of cat litter, and it comes in these plastic things. So they're like twice the size of a milk jug, but you can use milk jugs. You can use any kind of a plastic container that you have. And basically what you do is you poke some holes in the bottom of that milk jug or other plastic jug. You cut the thing in half-ish, okay, depending on how big it is. You can cut the whole thing off if you want, or you can cut 3 sides of it off and then you have like a hinge there, okay? You push that back, and then you want to have at least 4 inches down on the bottom because you need a root zone. And you put your seed starting mix in there in the bottom, and you can see that on the picture on the right here. Here's your seed starting soil mix, and you make sure that that's damp, so get it wet, and then you put your seeds on there, and you can just scatter them on top of that soil and cover them slightly. And so you're planting seeds just like you do anything else, right? Then you put this cap back on, or you just close it if you have a hinge on it, and then you put some tape around it so that, because you want it to stay closed, okay? You take the cap off of your jug because you don't want it to be a tight little greenhouse that could heat up and stuff in there. And if it gets dried out, you're gonna need a way to get water in there. And then you just go set it outside. Labeling it's a good idea, okay? You just go set it outside. You can set it in the snowbank. You can set it in the last picture here, you know, on a sidewalk if you have it. Just put it outside somewhere in the sun. And what will happen is those seeds that are in there will just stay dormant as long as it's cold and the days are short. And as the weather starts getting better, when it's the right time, the seeds will start germinating in there. And when they germinate, they're being exposed to really bright light versus what's in your house, okay? And they're getting cool night temperatures. They're a little bit warmer in that little mini greenhousey thing, but again, the cap is off so they won't get overheated, and they will grow in there. And then you just keep watering them, and eventually when it's, you know, your garden soil has thawed out and you're ready to plant these things somewhere, you transplant them just like you would anything else. You can start taking that lid off all the way, like in this picture, so that they're fully exposed to the sun a little bit before you transplant them. But the hardening off process is shorter and easier than if you're growing things indoors. Okay, so the question is, what do you do this with? You can't do it with everything. No, you cannot do it with tomatoes, because anything that's super frost sensitive, the warm season crops like tomatoes and vine crops and that, they will get cold. Yeah, they'll freeze. Okay, so once they sprout, they'll freeze. Whereas the cool season crops, like things like broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce and cabbage and onions and leeks and those kinds of things, they can handle it if it gets cold again, and they won't just freeze and die. So any of the cool season vegetables, any cool season flowers like snapdragons, stuff like that, or any native plants like milkweed or asters or anything like that, or anything else that you've ever had self-seed here. So like marigolds, you know, up at the demonstration garden in River Falls, the marigolds kind of reseed every year, and so we would transplant the little seedlings, so they can handle being out in the winter, and they just sprout when the time is right. So that's what you want to look for when deciding what to try this with. And again, it's just another way of doing seed starting. It's really helpful if you don't have enough room inside to do it. But if what you've been doing for starting, if you just trying to start, 6 tomatoes and a few peppers every year, and you've got that going indoors and it's been working for you, that's great. That's winter sowing's not really going to work well for those kinds of crops anyway, because they're warm season crops. The one thing I will caution is that when you go to on the internet, winter, quote, winter sowing is way different in Missouri than it is here. Okay, so as far as like timings and the things that you can do this with, be a little careful that you're not following recommendations way down there. Okay, and then finally, what Bridget had asked me to touch on is like up and coming things to be looking out for. And there isn't a lot that I could come up with right now, except for spotted lanternfly. And I know you guys have probably heard about this guy. This insect has been, it's in the East, okay, New York and New England area and stuff, and it's working its way this way. And in fact, there were some found on some nursery stock in Walworth County, which is right on the Illinois-Wisconsin border. And so, there's a real concern about this thing. And it is another invasive insect from Asia. And it's really colorful. Look at the picture on the bottom of this thing. And they're big. They're like 1.5 inches long. They don't fly a lot, but they mate a lot, and there will be tons of them. And so in the East, there are these campaigns that if you see it, stomp it. They want you to just stomp on these things because they'll be like all over sidewalks and trees and stuff. And basically what they do is they suck the sap out of plants, and they will feed on all kinds of things. And there's a lot of concern about crops and vineyards and berry places and orchards and on and on and on. So anyway, the predictions for where this thing is going to become a real problem do have it hitting southern Wisconsin. We are a little out of the range. We likely will get some of them eventually, but maybe not as high numbers as further south. But again, climate change and everything, who knows? So anyway, this is something that is not in our area yet, even though it's in the news a lot. And you should be aware of it, and you should be on the lookout for it, especially in springtime when we start, when you start going through garden centers and stuff. One of the ways that this is going to get here is it's going to hitchhike on nursery stock and stuff that gets shipped into the area. So if you see any of these things, we're going to want to report them very quickly. Now, I don't know how many of you watch Saturday Night Live, but they did a skit on this back in October, and it's funny, but it's amazingly factual as well about the risk that this insect poses. So I'm just going to encourage you to just Google Saturday Night Live lanternfly skit and find it. It's about 3 minutes long or whatever, but it's kind of funny. Probably don't watch it with kids under 10 just because, it's Saturday Night Live. So, but it's kind of an interesting little skit on lanternfly. So be aware of that guy. And then finally, I'm already getting questions about, gee, this warm winter and all this snow and no frost in the ground. What does that mean? Are we going to have more Japanese beetles? Are we going to have more grub problems? Are we going to have more potato bugs? Are we going to have more tomato blight? Are we going to have more whatever? And so I just want to remind everybody that, if I could predict that, I would be, well, let's see. I don't know where I'd be, my own private island, somewhere with staff doing all my gardening for me. But the thing to remember is that our winter doesn't affect our next growing season nearly as much as our spring weather does. And we don't know what that's going to happen or what that's going to bring. So we have, we really have to look more at like late spring frost. So if something, if things warm up and then we get a cold snap, if some insect, whether it's a pest or a beneficial, has hatched and then we get a cold snap, it could kill them all off. Moisture, if we have a wet spring or a dry spring, that can affect insect populations tremendously. It certainly also affects fungal populations, spores and things like that. So it's more our spring weather that has an effect on our growing season and which pests we have to deal with or don't have to deal with, rather than this winter stuff. Other than, as I mentioned earlier, it's not super cold, so we are not having freeze damage to roots right now. And we're not having freeze damage to tree trunks and stuff right now, like we have when it's, those 30 below weeks, but we might still get that, we've got a good month here yet where we could get, that polar vortex break off and come down here again. And the unknowns that are hard to pinpoint is what's harder on plants is if we get 30 below, it's harder on plants if we go from 20 above to 30 below in a short amount of time than if we go from 20 above to 10 above to 0 to 10 below to 20 below. So it's that time for the plants to adapt. So that is all I have to talk about, unless anybody else has anything they want to talk about. I should say, oh, go ahead.
I got 2 comments about snow with weighing down branches. The oak tree in my front yard there's a couple times the branches really got weighed down close to the ground. It's like, ooh, this don't look good. But once the snow came off the branches and that weight was lifted, it did go back to where it was supposed to be.
And that's a really good point, Matt, because one other thing I should mention is, let's say you have an evergreen or some tree that's kind of like done this, like an arborvitae shrub or a juniper or something, and it's, got bent over and then the snow came off and it's only up this far again. Okay. When spring comes, it may not go totally straight on its own. So if that's the case, you can put a little rope on it and tie it and straighten it back up. And then as it puts on this year's growth, the trunk expands or whatever, it will stay straight. So it's not like you'll need to put that rope on there for years, just for like half of a growing season, especially the half where the actual growth, the May, June into July region and stuff. But watch that, because that's a really good point, Matt. If something's bent down, if it doesn't come all the way back to where you want it, try to get it straightened out before it puts on that spring growth spurt. Okay. Because if it stays bent for a couple of years, it's going to get way harder to ever straighten it back out.
So I know somebody who said they tied up their pyramidal arborvitaes in preparation for winter for that reason.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people do that, especially if they're by the foundations of the house, because a lot of times you get snow that comes off the roof then and either drifts onto it or falls onto it, and then it splits those things. So it's actually a good practice, especially on a foundation planting. Too much work for me though.
But
I
I
just
did have
wouldn't-
a shrub that really got broken up by the snow. Okay, this is, all this top growth is gone. Cut it back, see what happens. Sprout it up, sucker it up really beautifully,
Good. Yep.
so.
Yep. Have a good brush fire coming up this spring, though.
Yeah, there's that. That's true.
The ground's so soft still, a lot of the snow is gonna soak in though as it melts too, instead of running off.
Yeah, and that is a really good point. And even now, because when that snow landed on this not too cold ground, I mean, and we had a few inches of frost at the time, but there's heat coming up from the earth and it's insulated by the snow on the top. And so that frost that was in the ground actually disappeared. But then that snow was melting and it's actually seeping into the ground already. And that, a few years ago, we had a lot of snow and the frost was really deep because the snow came late. And then we had, a lot of people had water coming into their basements and stuff because of that snow was running off somewhere and couldn't go down in. And that is the positive for this year. You're right, Leroy. It's going to be able to seep in, and that's great because we need it, because we were in,
Oh, God, yeah.
severe drought most of the summer and into the fall. So we need to be recharging that deep down soil moisture. So this is the best case scenario for that.
Yeah.
Even if we spent hours and hours and hours and hours snow removal already this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I've plowed a lot, my driveway over and over and over again. Yeah.
And you'll be doing it again tomorrow.
Chances are.
Anybody
Does
else?
anyone else have anything for Diana or for the group?
Okay, so Kathy let me answer this question.
On
Kathy in the chat
Okay.
said that she was told that it needs to be potting soil and not seed starting mix in the winter sowing thing. And I have seen that recommendation too, but I have also, the reason we use seed starting mix is because it's sterile and it's finer. And so especially if you're doing tiny seeds, they're less likely to get bogged down. Okay. So, potting mix might hold moisture a little better later on. Honestly, I think you're going to be successful either way. The key is to not use garden soil because that comes with a lot of fungal diseases and things that are in the soil. And then you can get damping off where the seedlings, are like strangled at soil level and die off. That's, I think, Pythium that does that. So the key is to just use something that's sterile, which would be a good quality potting mix or a seed starting mix. Now, the other thing that is an issue is if you use a potting soil, it's really hard to find one that doesn't already have fertilizer in it. So the Miracle Grow stuff, it already has these nutrients in it and stuff. That's actually not great for seed starting because seeds have all of the nutrients in them they have to send out their roots and get themselves up to their first true leaves where they start doing photosynthesis and stuff. It's in some cases with that potting mix that has the fertilizer in it already, it's too strong. And so you get too tall and lanky, too much growth on those seedlings. And you can even have some root burn if it's, if there's a pocket of nitrogen in there or something like that. The seed starting mixes usually don't have that, although they're putting it in some too. And honestly, it's more of a marketing thing, but it's better if you used a potting mix, whether it's a seed starting mix or potting soil that does not have fertilizer added to it for seed starting. And then once you get that first set of true leaves, then you start using a mild liquid fertilizer like every 2 weeks. So thank you for asking that question, Kathy. And now we're done.
All righty. Well, thank you, Diana. Wonderful as always.
Always good to
Thank you.
talk to you guys. I do miss though this January meeting where we would be eating Deb's cherry
Having- yeah,
cake.
cherry cake and pizza.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's the only cake I ever ate all year.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a cake eater, but that stuff Deb makes, oh my gosh.
We got a really nice blueberry cake that my mother used to make, and I've been thinking of making one of those. That's pretty good eating.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, on that note, everybody have a good night and we will talk with y'all later.
Wonderful. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone else. We will see you again soon.